There is news on the statewide minimum wage that we need to share with you so you can start planning for next year. We know this comes at a challenging time for the restaurant community, where costs and operating pressures continue to mount even as inflation cools. According to the Public Policy Institute of California, inflation peaked at 9.1% in June of 2022 and then fell to 4.9% in April of this year. While that drop was welcomed, California still experienced a 40-year high in inflation last year, and the impacts will be felt for the foreseeable future. The state looks back over a one-year calendar period to determine whether the state minimum wage needs to be adjusted for inflation. That's because the state minimum wage law is embedded with triggers which require the director of the State Department of Finance to make that determination each year on or before August 1st. The Department of Finance calculated the rate of inflation over the 12-month period from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, and determined the rate increased by 6.16% compared to the same period in the prior year. State law says that the wage shall be indexed by the rate of inflation or 3.5%, whichever is lower. As a result, the state announced that minimum wage will increase by 3.5% to $16 per hour starting January 1st, 2024. Remember, California has numerous local jurisdictions with their own minimum wage rates, and a ballot initiative will appear before voters in November 2024, aiming to raise the state minimum wage to $18 per hour. Moving on to something we are glad about. It's a bill that will help restaurants avoid shakedown lawsuits and provide their guests with clear accessibility to their websites. Legislators will return to Sacramento next week to discuss that and other bills during their last 5 weeks of this year's session. There is a lack of clear standards for web accessibility, and, not surprisingly, a growing trend of lawsuits against businesses. Many of those lawsuits are about exploiting small businesses for cash settlements rather than about accessibility. AB 1757 will provide much-needed guidelines for how a website can be accessible to those with communication disabilities. The bill also provides a presumption of accessibility, or a safe harbor, to businesses that model their website to conform with what's known as Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.1 or 2.1 Level AA or above. Those guidelines are a shared international standard that aims to make websites accessible to people with a broad range of disabilities, including intellectual, sensory, and physical disabilities. We believe in reforms that make the ADA more accessible and effective for those it was designed to protect, while also reducing the number of frivolous lawsuits that only hurt businesses and customers. Believe it or not, that's a heavy lift in the state capitol, but it's the right thing to do for restaurants and guests. That's the news you need to know. Thanks for watching.